Hey guys, Kurt here with NK Garage, and we're back with another Machinist tool haul video. So, if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago we picked up this Sheldon engine lathe, and well, we caught the Machinist bug. Let me tell you, we've been looking, we've been on Facebook. We joined a local Machinist group, and we've been looking to get some more tooling for it. But in that, we found a whole Machinist tool haul, and it was such a good deal, it came with a mill.
Huh.
So we bought it. And, well, let's get into it. Nick, should we start with the mill or the tools?
I think we start with the mill.
All right. Well, it's a Bridgeport mill, and currently we do not have it running. We don't have three-phase power here, so we are probably going to be getting a phase converter, maybe a VFD. Depends on if something local pops up at a really good deal and we can just get it running real quick. We might pick one or the other. I think we're leaning towards the phase converter, right, Nick?
Yeah, the VFD would be good if we needed more speed control. We don't really. This is I believe it's called the Series 2 head. So this has the CVT transmission with variable speed. I believe it goes from 50 RPM to like 4,200. I can't remember exactly. So we don't really need to control speed any finer than that. So the rotary phase converter is going to work better for us, I think.
Yeah. So let's go through a little bit of history on this mill. This Bridgeport.
All right. Kurt likes to call it a Bridgeport because he thinks that looks like a B. If you think in the comments that looks like a B,
It's just I like to joke around.
It's a running
give
joke.
Things nicknames. I've been calling it a Bridgeport, but it is a Bridgeport, and we know that. So this model is either an 89 or a 90. The guy we bought it from said that somebody told him it was a 90-ish from the serial number. The owner's manual says 1989 in it.
Yeah, the frame of the machine is a 1989 or 90. The head was actually a refurb unit, so that may be a different year. He had that replaced at one point.
Yeah, so the guy we bought it from, he's a local machinist, and he worked for a company that actually shut down their manufacturing. And while they were shutting down, this was something that was outside in a storage container that was just, it had been retired. And that's why he needed to get the head replaced, because the head was either scavenged for parts or broken.
I think he said the head was worn out. He said this machine basically spent most of its life using the power quill feed, so it would be dropping down. This is like a big drill press. And it basically just spent most of its life drilling precision holes. They didn't do a whole lot of, moving around the X, Y, and Z axis. So I think it was pretty worn out, and he had that refurbed.
Yeah. So he got the machine from his job for scrap value, that's a deal. I mean, that's, $200 or something right there. That you can't complain with that. It came with the DRO, which currently is not working. He never used it. He believes that it works, but one of the plugs is damaged. It does turn on and gives an error code. One of the axes works or no?
Yeah, the Y-axis does work. The X-axis, the cable is broken. I guess when they transported it from the company he bought it from to his house, somewhere along the line, one of the cables got pinched.
Yeah, but the machine itself is actually in pretty good shape. Like Nick said, the head was worn out, but then he went and got a refurbished head and had put that one on here. So the new head is, completely refurbished, all new bearings inside, and it really is in good shape. He only used it 3 times in his shop over the years. It was a home machine that, he planned to use a lot, but life came in the way, and now he has moved, he's getting married, and he just doesn't have the time or the space for it. So it has become our machine. So this is going to be our first mill and a great machine to learn on. And we were able to get the mill plus all of these tools for $4,200. So we were really happy. That was exactly what we were looking about to pay for a mill with tooling. We have a vise on here. It is a UASA vise, which is a decent brand. You know, if you don't want to break the bank, you know, definitely try to get, if you're a hobbyist, just try to get whatever you can use, save as much money as you can. We have tons of tooling on the machine. We have a bunch of collets over here. Nick, you want to go in a little bit more detail on that for the
So
viewers?
yeah, another plus of having the head switched out. I forget what the original taper of the chuck of this machine was, but when they refurbished, or when he swapped to the refurbished head, we basically converted over to an R8 chuck system, and that is this taper right here. So this R8 chuck or collet system is much more preferred, much more prevalent. So with that, we got a bunch of different collets, which basically, if you don't know, this gets inserted into the bottom of the spindle and it's threaded on the bottom. There's what's called a drawbar up here. So that's just a threaded rod that passes down. It draws the collet up into the spindle, and while it does that, it compresses these three little like tabs and clamps down on whatever you have in there. It's a really good way of making something concentric, and it will always self-center in here. Aside from that, we have just a standard Jacobs chuck that fits that R8 collet, or R8 taper, sorry. And then we have two different sized boring heads there. And then below that are just the hold down T-slot clamps. So that's for clamping parts down on the table.
Yeah. We also got these homemade covers here. They're made out of aluminum, and that's great to have. Just helps protect the machine.
Yeah, it keeps a lot of the chips and oil from clogging up those T-slots.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, let's get to the tools.
Yeah, but before we switch over, the DRO and right here, the Power X axis. That was a big thing for us, as it doesn't want to go because on the far ends of, there we go. I had it on low speed, sorry. There we go. Power X feed. Those were two big things, the DRO and the power feed, that made us purchase one of these machines. That's why our budget was probably a little higher than most, because that was kind of something we didn't want to live without.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
all right,
want to get on to the tools?
Yeah, I'm going to start here with the end mills. Now, there's a lot of end mills here, guys. There's a lot of value here. And this is something, if anybody is looking to get into machining at home, or even just starting a little machine shop for yourself, do yourself a favor and try to get as much tooling as you can with your machines, because this stuff is super expensive. We've got a lot of variety here and a lot of different sizes. Here on the left, these are all 2-flute standard end mills, and there are tons of them in here. Some of them are the double-sided ones and are in brand new condition. Some of them are lightly used, some of them are heavily used. We have all different sizes in here, small to decently large. Here we have, these are all 4-flute, and we got 2 tool holders with them as well. But I mean, some of these are just really magnificent. You know, look at that. I don't know if that's ever been used. It's just a nice, it's a Hypro V made in Japan, 1 inch. So we're gonna have end mills for a long time. Here we have a bunch of used counter bores. The guy actually just gave us this for free because they're all pretty used. So some of them, you know, might just be junk, but there's probably a couple good ones in here. I mean, this one still has some wax on it, so that might still be good. These guys here, Nick,
I believe those are keyway cutters.
And there's a decent amount of them in here. So
this would be for cutting a keyway on the end of a shaft or something. You have different depths and different widths depending on what kind of keyway you'd like to cut.
yeah. In here, this is just some of the odd and end mills. Like some of them here, this is, you know, a 6-flute. There's this one is a 3-flute. And I mean, it looks, you know, kind of beat, but just figured it was special. Then we have this one is definitely, you know, specialty. You know, there's 6, you know.
That might be a drill bit.
It's just called the Roto Brute here, XL200. You know, I don't know a lot about this stuff. We're just getting into it. This is part of my favorite part of the haul. These are all the ball end mills. And we got some nice ones in here, like this big one. This is a Weldon 1 1/4 inch. I mean, that's an expensive tool right there. So there are probably 25 ball ends in here, all different sizes. We've got little ones, you know, medium ones. This one is extremely heavy. It's probably a nice, good hardened steel.
So basically, for those that aren't, you know, up to the lingo or whatever, a standard end mill like this is flat on the bottom. So this is used for cutting on the side of something or making a flat pass across the top. A ball end mill is rounded on the bottom, similar to a drill bit, and that's going to be, you can cut on the side if you need to, but it's mainly for cutting down and forward into a part, and it'll leave you with a nice like bowl shape instead of a squared off like T-slot. So having options is very good. You might need to do that for some sort of project where you need a radius at the bottom of your, you know, cut.
Yeah, and then there's some rough end mills in here, roughing end mills, a couple of them. I mean, it's nice just to have a couple various sizes. These are decently used. They didn't seem to have a lot of them. And there's a couple just reamers in here, tapered reamer, small and just regular reamer in here. So again, more useful stuff. Going on over here, we have a bunch of parallel clamps. There are some unbranded ones. There are some branded ones in here, but it's definitely a good, you know, little starter set. In here, we have 2 Starrett clamps. One of them is broken, but it is nice little number 160, and it's a 2-piece set. They have interchangeable ends on them, so you can have this, you know, deeper end for doing a smaller part, or there's the little skinny end in here that you could swap out. Fortunately, the second clamp, the screw is busted, so it might give us a little project to start. We might have to make one of those little thumb screws. We got some magnetic chucks here. We also have a 4-inch by 4-inch by 4-inch angle plate. This is brand new, made by Eric in Japan.
On this box, they call it an angel plate. On the angle plate itself, it's called an angle plate.
Yeah, we have some step blocks here. We have some keyways and the broach collars, right?
Yeah, this would be the broaching, I guess, file. And these are like the collars that hold it in place.
Yeah. Nick, you want to go over some of the other tools here for everybody?
Yeah, so once we get into this side, he just gave us this toolbox. It was hidden way under one of his workbenches, and he said, "Do you have any interest in this?" And Kurt never turns down anything for free, so especially a machinist toolbox, why not?
Yeah.
In here we have some dial indicators that we bought. We have this is a bore gauge. Kind of cool. I've never seen one of those before. You get the little button to make the quick in and out adjustment. And then I don't know what the style of this is called, where it's the dial indicator that you push on from the side, but this measures in half of a 10,000th inch. These two are the same. Now while we were there, this dial indicator was ours. This is a Chinese piece of junk. I actually dropped it on the ground the other day and broke it. But I had mentioned that I did drop ours on the ground because our mount to hold down on the lathe or whatever was terrible. It was the worst mount ever, and it kind of fell off while I was using it. So the kid told us that, you know, just wait a second. He went and grabbed this Noga brand clamp and just gave it to us for free. So it's got the magnetic base and it clamps down really well for, you know, setting up your dial indicator on your different tooling. So we're really, really gracious that he did that. Below that, we have an old steady rest for a lathe. He just threw that in. He was kind of like, do you have any interest in this? We said, why not? So
It's got no brands on it, and it definitely, needs some work, but it's something I don't mind playing around with and seeing what we can do with it.
yeah, it won't fit our lathe, unfortunately. You might be able to modify it to fit our lathe, but I don't know if we'll ever need a steady rest. It's good to have around, though. Over here, we have some just cover plates for the ways on the Bridgeport. We need to get that kind of accordion style plastic to cover the ways, but that's what holds those down. This is the horizontal milling head for the Bridgeport. This is kind of cool. So this clamps on to the spindle and allows you to mill horizontally. Now, most old mills, before they had vertical mills, they were horizontal mills. So that mill drops apart vertically, and then you mount a cutter or whatever on it. The old style mills were actually horizontal, so the thing would come out the front and you'd have your tool on it. So if you ever need to adapt to that, it's cool to have. I don't know if we'll ever do it, but it's here. These, we're still not exactly sure. Kurt was looking at these, and what did we think they were called?
I have no idea. I really don't. We're just getting into this, so I'm sure you guys out there can help us, figure this out and let us know so we know what to use these guys for. There's some in here that might be homemade, but there's also some that, have been purchased.
It's very interesting.
Some of them, they say Eclipse on them, so all different sizes.
All right, moving on. Here we have an NK Super Spacer. So it's really hard to find information on these. NK is I think a Taiwanese brand. So this is basically an indexing rotary table. So this, you move this lever, it allows this to spin between 0 and 360 degrees, and then it will lock in place at 24 predetermined spacings. So on top of here, you have a 3-jaw chuck. This is a Kitagawa SK6. So this could have any number of chucks on it, but that Kitagawa is actually worth a lot of money. I went through this the other day. I fully cleaned it out, all the old grease and everything. This little locking collar tab or whatever you want to call it is kind of worn out. We're going to have to do something about that. But it is working, and it's cool for setting up parts if you want to mill flats on a bolt head or something like that. This is a quick and easy way to do that. Next to that, we have this crank style rotary table. So as you can see, as I crank this, it's going to spin around. This is made by the John B. Stevens Company. There's not a whole lot about this company online. I think they were dissolved in 1967. Very nice tool right there. I think it's, what was that, a 4 or 5 inch rotary table? It's very small, but it is nice if we need to do very precise movements.
Yep.
Last but not least, everything in here is to do kind of with slitting and keyways. I wouldn't say everything. I think there's some boring bars in here. But we have all sorts of different saw blades that cut different angles. This is a 33-degree angle cutter. I think this is for cutting in like dovetails and things of that sort. I'm not exactly certain, but we have a ton of them. They are all brand new in box. And then we have a bunch of different arbors for that.
Yeah. We have the extra mill parts and stuff, extra crank handle here.
Yeah, there's
more parts in that box.
Bolts and things. I think this is a keyway cutter, but we have just a mix of assorted goods in here that we will probably find a use for as we get used to milling and get into it a bit.
Yeah.
I know I am really excited. I love getting into all things tools, and I mean, this is just cool stuff. Nick and myself, we are both, brand new to this, but we are super interested in learning, just be able to make precise things, repurpose things, fix things, even just engineering your own parts and tools and all that is just, it's a cool and very useful hobby. So we're definitely happy, and I think, our luck hasn't run out yet. I think we got an excellent deal here. The mill was worth it, and all of the tooling is definitely worth it. I think we did quite well, And you know, that kind of concludes it for today's video. But I want you guys to, you know, leave us a comment, you know, let us know, you know, what your favorite part of this tool haul is. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Hopefully soon we'll get this running. I think once we get this running, we'll probably show you guys both the mill and the lathe running in the same video.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. We're going to get some power run over here. Right now we're kind of running that off an extension cord. But once we get some power over here and hopefully a phase converter for that, we'll be up and running, you know, full little hobby machine shop, and then the learning starts. So drop a comment. What was your favorite tool in the video, of course? And do you like the machining content? Is it a little change from the automotive tools, or which do you like better?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we do everything tools here. So you're going to see woodworking tools, automotive tools, machining tools. Eventually, we'll show you guys some of our landscaping tools too, excavation tools, stuff like that. We'll get into all of it. So thank you guys for watching. And, you know, you heard me say landscaping, excavation, but if you really do want to see more of that kind of stuff, go check out Nick at his channel, NK Landscaping LLC. And there's tons of content on there as well. So thank you guys and have a great day.